Kung Fu, Cowboys, and father-son drama, and one of the most heartfelt coming-of-age moments ever put in a Saturday morning cartoon, all scored with music that could have been ripped straight from a Sergio Leone western. This is the story of Rodeo Showdown, and today we're breaking down how the music told the story of a boy becoming a man. Xiaolin Showdown is a show about 4 young monks in training traveling across the world to collect mystical artifacts called Shen Gong Wu before the forces of evil, the heirloom, can claim them. It's part martial arts fantasy, part comedy, but every so often it hits you with a surprisingly deep emotional punch. One of these punches comes in the episode Big as Texas, when the cowboy monk Clay has to face not just a villain, but his own father. The story begins by Clay's father visiting the Shaolin Temple. He wants Clay to come back home with him, but Clay's got bigger things on his mind. A mission to save the world. As a new Shen Gong Wu activates, Clay sees this as a chance to convince his dad to let him stay at the temple, proving to him that he's more than just a kid from Texas. But when he gets there, Clay's dad starts barking orders like he's running a ranch. Clay acted as a submissive yes man, ditching his fellow monk Omi's carefully laid plan and just charging at the villain Jack Spicer head on. That reckless move cost them dearly, leading to the loss of a valuable Shen Gong Wu. Disappointed with his son, Clay's dad tells him to pack up and head back to the ranch in Texas. However, as we soon find out, it turns out that there's a twist. The Lone Star of Texas, Clay's family heirloom, passed down from father to son for generations, is actually the Star Hanabi, another Shen Gong Wu. Now Clay's got one last shot to show that he's truly earned his place as a man. He challenges Jack Spicer to a Xiaolin Showdown, a duel of sorts, to win back his family heirloom. The challenge? To find a needle in a haystack. The Rodeo Showdown commences. The music you just heard signaled the start of the showdown. That was the Dizi flute, a traditional Chinese instrument known for its bright, airy tone. It's like the musical equivalent of a breath of fresh air, setting the stage for this Wild West meets Kung Fu showdown. The music kicks off in E minor, and that choice says a lot. If E major is like the Texas sunrise, bright and blazing, E minor is the sunset on the open plains. The day's work is done. The air is cooler, and the shadows stretch long across the dirt. It's not a tragedy, but there's a bittersweet grit to it, the kind you get from miles of dust on your boots and 100 campfires under your belt. That's what makes this Western trumpet fanfare so evocative. It's not just heroic, it's weathered. It calls to mind the iconic sound of Ennio Morricone's The Trio from The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, a melody that's as much about tension and history as it is about action. Here, those dusty broken arpeggios and brassy stabs aren't just music. They're a soundtrack to a cowboy who's been through the ringer, stories in his eyes, pride in his stance. And in this episode, that cowboy is Clay. He's not just fighting villains, he's wrestling with the weight of his father's expectations. This music paints that struggle perfectly. A son caught between respect for his roots and the fierce desire to blaze his own trail. Let's start off with the classic frontier progression, the kind you'd hear in old westerns and vintage games like It Came from the Desert on the Commodore Amiga, music reminiscent of the Old West, playing in a dusty farm in the middle of nowhere. It's the perfect backdrop for a story about Clay stepping into his own journey, the kind of moment where the horizon feels endless and anything seems possible. The melody rides over broken string arpeggios, alternating between E major and D major, some of the brightest keys you can write in. The more sharps in a key, the more bright it feels, and E major and D major give the feeling of a morning sun shining over the vast Texas plains. Layered under this is a broken D major glissando, jagged and restless, like the musical equivalent of rummaging through a haystack in search of a single needle. It's a sound of focused urgency, the stubborn persistence to keep sifting through the dust and straw until the prize is finally in hand. As those warm sunrise chords play in their second inversion, long tied whole notes that stretch and swell into a gentle crescendo, it feels like sunlight slowly creeping over the horizon, not fully risen, holding a quiet tension. Clay's dad once again shows fatherly love by calling for pitchforks to assist Clay. However, they look more like demon tridents with bat wings, the kind that might cause more trouble than assist. That crescendo in the music mirrors the growing pressure inside Clay, the push and pull of obedience and frustration, as the warmth of the chords hide a simmering storm beneath. It's a subtle but powerful buildup, the perfect musical snapshot of a son wrestling with his father's harsh guidance and the first flickers of standing up for himself. Then the mischievous Jack Spicer crashes the party. His theme? A total tonal U-turn. Heavy metal riffs in D minor. Minor keys with flats always bring that darker, edgier vibe, which fits Spicer's villainous energy perfectly, especially against the bright, sharp major keys we heard before. But here's where it gets really intense. A male choir kicks in, drenched in D Phrygian, a scale with a flat 2 that clashes against the D minor notes like thunder rolling in on the horizon. It's the kind of tense, stormy atmosphere you might imagine from ancient Egyptian myths. See, the Egyptian god Seth was associated with storms, chaos, and the desert winds, basically the embodiment of disorder. That's the vibe here. The clash between D minor and D Phrygian is like Seth himself is summoning a storm. As his dad keeps on dishing out that tough love advice, Clay hits his limit. He locks eyes with his father and, in true Texan style, lays it down straight to his dad's face. "Daddy, I love you, but if you don't mind, zip your yap and let me get the job done my way." His dad's face freezes, shock, confusion, before it quickly softens into a warm, proud smile. And then the music strips down to country guitar slides. No grand orchestra, no dramatic fanfare, just warm, honest notes sliding gently like a whispered conversation between father and son. Those slides carry the weight of the moment, the passing of the torch from father to son. Clay's not just claiming a Shen Gong Wu here, he's claiming his independence, earning his father's respect, and stepping into his own as a man. After winning the showdown, Clay holds up the Lone Star heirloom, ready to hand it back to his dad. feeling like he hasn't quite earned it yet. But his father surprises him. With a slow, knowing smile, he says, "You've been a man longer than I thought." That moment hits like the final chord in a song. Full, resolved, and true. It's more than just passing down a family heirloom. It's passing down trust, respect, and the courage to carve your own path. His dad then allowed him to stay and train at the Xiaolin Temple, to continue fighting side by side with his fellow monks to save the world. In under 22 minutes, Xiaolin Showdown gave us kung fu action, cowboy grit, and a heartfelt coming-of-age story, all wrapped in a score that understood exactly when to be epic and when to be quiet. And that's why this isn't just the most dramatic rodeo in cartoon history, it's one of the most musically powerful. This whole scene works because the music grows up alongside Clay. It starts out big and showy, like a young cowboy trying to impress his old man. Then it weathers a storm, and finally, it finds its own quieter, stronger voice with gentler guitar slides, before opening up again with a reprise that's stronger than ever before. That's it for this video. Be sure to check out my book, Moonshine Melodies, if you want to learn more about country music and the music of the Old West with examples from video games. And before you ride off into the sunset, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. What music perfectly captures the feeling of growing up for you?